Blondie effectively sees the hearts, minds and trousers of every young boy that had that coming-of-age moment in the 70s. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Welcome classic rock fans to a short video where I talk about Blondie and more specifically Parallel Lines. Listening to this set has given me the opportunity to blow some dust of some old tunes that take me all the way back to listening to the Radio 1 Top 40 Countdown on a Sunday night. Overall a really enjoyable stroll down Amnesia Lane. I have to say that Parallel Lines is still my favourite Blondie album. Sorry to be so damned predictable, but it's the sound of that album. Interestingly, according to music journalist Robert Christgau, he said Parallel Lines was a pop rock album in which Blondie achieved their synthesis of the Dixie Cups and the Electric Prunes. But let's not forget Blondie, for their third album, turned to British producer Mike Chapman. According to AllMusic, they abandoned any pretensions to new wave legitimacy and emerged as a pure pop band. I always think of Blondie, rightly or wrongly, sharing the same sort of space as Patti Smith. They certainly shared the same stages, I think. But Blondie had a much more pop sensibility, much more pout and lippy to them. When I see Patti Smith, I'm always reminded of that line from that Cramps song. She had a puss like she'd been weaned on a pickle. But it wasn't just the production that made this album, it was the band's own songwriting, which included Debbie Harry, Christine and James Destry. Picture This, Heart of Glass, I think were written by Debbie Harry and Stein, I think. And of course the new bass player Nigel Harrison's One Way or Another. There was also contributions from Jack Lee, of course he was a non-band member, Well Anything Happen, and Hanging on the Telephone. Interesting demo of Hanging on the Telephone with a different vocal, that's worth checking out. Of course it did very well for Blondie on both sides of the Atlantic with Heart of Glass, which was a #1 I think, and I think there were about 3 more UK hits from this record. But it's the depth and consistency of this album. I mean, wonderful tracks like Fade Away and Radiate, which I think Blondie have included in their live set recently, and Just Go Away. These are excellent numbers that of course weren't singles. We get this pop rock circa 1978 with Debbie Harry very much cultivating that tough girl glamour image, really, of course a pattern that would be exploited over the next decade by people like Madonna. But be that as it may, Harry was so much better, I think, and this album, my word. The New York Times critic John Rockwell named Parallel Lines the 8th best album of 1978. And this all happened before MTV was a thing. This band very much cemented that the look and sound of 1980s new wave. This is ringing guitar pop at its very best, penetrating the consciousness and adorning the walls of millions of sweaty schoolboys everywhere. And the Blondie legend was perpetuated by its place in ads and films and God knows what else. And certainly time has been very kind to these recordings, I think, and the legacy of this band, if not to the actual band members themselves. This album boasts Heart of Glass, Sunday Girl and the incredible Picture This. I think the best song on this album is definitely Hanging on the Telephone. It's not the best Blondie number ever. The best Blondie number ever is Union City Blues. There, I said it. And that's not to dismiss the very punky One Way or Another or the beautiful Fade Away and Radiate. Pitchfork has described Debbie Harry as a mannered and complex frontwoman, possessed of a range of vocal tricks and affectations. She certainly was. She was quick to understand that presentation was as important as sound, I think. She was certainly at home exploiting the spaces offered by Radiate, Heart of Glass, as she was pouting and winking through Picture This and Sunday Girl. She certainly had versatility and charm and, dare I say it, sex appeal, which is a very unfashionable word to say in this very PC age we live in. But it was that, again, to quote Pitchfork, it was that gamey, sophisticated look of the French New Wave actress, but always seemed supremely grounded and approachable, almost tomboyish, that very much established her as something special. And there's certainly songs on this album that frame Harry as the romantic pursuer. Strange dichotomy is had that she has this image of something that's placed very much in the 1950s. It also sings songs that firmly roots her in the rebellion of punk and new wave. This album undoubtedly oozes charm and angst and pop sensibilities and absolute top-notch production, all fronted by the beguiling and incredibly sexy Debbie Harry, and that sleeve, and what an iconic sleeve that is. But the idea for that sleeve actually came down from the then manager, who was Peter Leeds. Now, Peter Leeds saw Debbie Harry as effectively being Blondie. Her voice and good looks is where his bread and butter was. And he often made it clear to the other band members that they were replaceable. Now, some might describe this sleeve as iconic. It's certainly striking, that's for sure. But the band see it as a symbol of manipulation. They all look like piano keys, or maybe they've just stepped out of a huge Bridget Riley op art painting. And the typography is absolutely perfect. It's anchored to the sleeve by the sensual red of Debbie Harry's lipstick. Blondie were considered a punk band at the time. This sleeve saw them stepping into sort of almost mainstream pop. With Debbie Harry standing in front of them with that wonderful white dress, it was a far cry from some of the outfits she'd been wearing on stage up to that point. The band, of course, are dressed in suits, and even their ties create more parallel lines. The only clue that things might not be quite what they seem is the casual footwear that the guys are wearing. Interestingly, in a story in Q's 100 Best Record Covers of All Time, the band was sold the idea that they would be fading in and out of the stripes. And the facial expressions, you've got Harry's sexy as hell scowl contrasted with the guys' goofy grins.
We've had the concept of being in front of these black and white stripes. And then our erstwhile manager said, why don't you all take a picture smiling? So everybody took one shot smiling, and then he, unbeknownst to us, used us on the cover.
And this was also the idea of Peter Leeds. According to Debbie Harry, he tricked them into pulling the expressions once and then proceeded to make the cover without showing them. She said, we were all taken aback at the fact that the artwork had been finalised without our consent, and that the decision had been made without the band's involvement. It shocked us all. It was a clear indication that our creative input was not being fully respected. Of course, this was the final straw, and Peter Leeds was sacked, only to be replaced with Shep Gordon, who was Alice Cooper's manager. But nevertheless, the duochromatic cover is one that is incredibly striking even to this day. But then, of course, we did get that dreadful picture disc version of the album. That photograph was taken by British photographer Martin Goddard, and the image features Debbie licking the edge of a 12-inch vinyl LP with a lipstick kiss on the label. My God, how tacky is that? All contributes to one of the reasons why I love this album. Anyway, you've been watching a short video by Classic Album Review. If you like this video, please do click like, subscribe, and check that notification bell so you don't miss a thing. Check some of the links below this video for ways you can support the sterling work done at the channel. It's always much appreciated. Other than that, I'll leave you with my closing catchphrase, which is, hope you're well, staying safe, and of course that you keep listening.